Chaitanaya Tadham Vrindavanam Gramya Kachidupasana Vrajavadu Vargena Taya Kalpita Srimad Bhagavata Puranayamanam Prema Pumartho Maha Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Rayaramanada Nayatra Yagra Paraha Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakha Vitamscha Navaniradhanindita Kanti Dharam Raso Sagar Nagar Bhupavaram Shubhavanki Macharu Shikhanda Sikhin Bhaja Krishna Nidhim Vrajaraja Sutam Bhaja Krishna Nidhi Vrajaraja Sutam Ajanulambito bhujo Konakaya Vadhato Sankirtanai Pitaravo Kamalayataksho Vishwambharo Dvijavaro Yugadharma Palo Vande Jagata Priyakaro Karuna Avataro Takta Sudastijam Surepsitaraja Lakshmim Dharmishtaya Arya Vachasa Yagadada Aranyam Mayamrudam Daipsitam Anyadhava Vande Mahapurushate Charana Ravindam Vande Mahapurushate Charana Ravindam Vande Mahapurushate Charana Ravindam Radhika Sarovindu Nindimo Mandali Vandiye Shri Pada Padma Rishabhanu Nandini Vandiye Shri Pada Padma Rishabhanu Nandini Vandiye Shri Pada Jai Jai Shri Chai Krishna Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Jai Shri Chai Krishna Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Vanta Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Excuse me. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Today is Sunday, March 27, 2022, and I welcome all the listeners on the Bhaktivedanta Bhagavad group through the multimedia and different listeners from wherever you are. You're welcome to the Bhaktivedanta Bhagavad group. We will be continuing into the wonderful conversation between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Rayaramananda. So, in the past few sessions, we have discussed and read from the Chaitanaya Charitamrita the wonderful meeting that happens on the banks of the Godavari River when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu leaves Jagannath Puri. He was requested by Sarvabhattacharya to meet Rayaramananda, especially when he went down south. And Rayaramananda was the governor of Vidyanagar and that part of South India. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu reached Vidyanagar on the banks of the Godavari, as usual, Rayaramananda used to come every evening to offer his puja to the Godavari, the holy river, along with Vedic Brahmins and his entourage with his other assistants, security personnel, etc. And when he saw Mahaprabhu, Mahaprabhu was seated underneath on the banks of the tree, underneath the banks of the Godavari, underneath a tree, very effulgent, an amazing personality, shining, a sannyasi. So he went forward and offered his obeisances. Mahaprabhu picked him up, embraced him, and in both in great ecstasy cried. And there were so many different symptoms of the Ashtasattvic vikars, of great ecstasy between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Rayaramananda. Rayaramananda is none other than Vishakha Sakhi, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Sri Krishna Nandanandan in the mood of Srimati Radharani. So it was a union of Vishakha Sakhi, Radha Krishna. And upon Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's request, the next day onwards, they met in a secluded place to discuss some of the most important and sublime topics that are the highlights and the summum bonum for the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. And if we understand this conversation, even the fundamentals, then we will certainly understand the mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the mood of the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, Vaishnava Sampradaya. So on the next day, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met Rayaramananda as agreed in a secluded place. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, acting like a wonderful disciple, asking questions. A disciple must ask good questions to the Guru, just like Arjuna is asking questions in the Bhagavad Gita. Parikshit Maharaj is asking questions to the to Sukadeva Goswami, and many other uh, devotees. They ask questions to the perfected souls, so that not only they will benefit, but the entire mankind will benefit. Although Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the most munificent avatar, he asked Rai Ramananda, what is the goal of life? Please explain me the goal of life, and please substantiate your answers with scriptural evidence. So this is a very important thing for preachers and for even listeners, that whenever somebody is speaking spiritual subject matters, they have to be in line with Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. They cannot just be independent, whimsical, or just based on our mundane conditioning that we can manufacture. So, a wonderful philosophical lesson is being taught, a lesson of humility also, and also the a lesson for all of us, that without shastric evidence one should not accept anything whimsically. So Rai Ramanan starts by discussing the fact that from the Shastras he quotes the quotations about the Varnashram Dharma. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rejects it and says that it is external, because Varnashram Dharma eventually it is based on the fact that one can enter into Vaikuntha, and Vaikuntha worship, or the worship of the deities in Vaikuntha, is not the actual goal of what Mahaprabhu accepted, because it is in awe and reverence, in the Aishwarya Bhav. So then further he goes into the Bhagavad Gita shlokas, like whatever you do, whatever you offer everything to Krishna. And he quotes that famous verse, Yat Karoshi, Yat Asnasi, uh, whatever. So one should uh, offer Krishna everything. So Krishna says, Iho Bhai, Mahaprabhu says, Iho Bhaiya, this is external. Please tell me more. So, like this, uh, even that particular statement of the Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who wanted to hear the higher, pure devotion subject matters, uh, he kind of rejected that as well. And he said that, please tell me more. Because the fact is that there is not prema involved, there is no love involved. When we are offering something, we are offering basically as, at best, from becoming from karmis to karma yogis, so that we will be absolved of our sinful reactions, of our papa kriya. And that is not the ultimate goal of life, that uh, the ones uh, who are tinged with the love. Love is beyond any rules and regulations, beyond pap and punya. So karmi and karma yoga kind of help persons who are falling into sinful activities by offering to Krishna whatever we do. We are the sinful activities or papa kriya, or the karma that has been born out of those activities, is eradicated. And so basically it is for us that we are doing. There is no love of Godhead involved there. He even quotes, Rai Ramanand quotes the one famous wonderful verse of Bhagavad Gita, Asarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja aham tam sarva papebhyo mokshashyami masucha. abandon all varieties of religion and surrender unto me only, and I will uh, absolve you from all sinful activities. O Arjun, do not worry. So here also we find that our Rasik Acharyas have commented that that kind of surrender that Arjun did is different from the surrender of the gopis of Vrindavan, etc. That surrender was with fear. That because of fear, that is the reason why Krishna had to guarantee that do not fear. I will take care of your karmic reactions. So, like this, uh, that surrender that is mixed with fear, which has got some Mishra Bhakti, then that Mishra Bhakti will not lead to pure Krishna Prem. And we also mentioned earlier that uh, going back to Godhead, Srila Prabhupada mentioned, but that does not mean that we can attain 100% Vrajbhav. Because if we follow the four regulative principles as sadhaks and we chant 16 good rounds, but if our consciousness does not culminate into Krishna Prema, then we will end up at the time of death remembering Krishna, but then we will end up in Vaikuntha. Prabhupada mentioned back to God, but he did not say back to Golok. Because the first step is practicing becoming sadhaks, sadhana bhakti. And from sadhana bhakti, once we practice that seriously, and when that desire enters in our heart for Vraj bhakti, following in the footsteps of the Rajvasis, that is called Raganuga bhakti, then at the time of death, we will be uh, thinking of Krishna with a lot of love, with a lot of prema. And for his sake, whatever we maintain, just like the gopis maintained their life for Krishna. So, for Krishna's service, for Krishna's pleasure. Anya vilashada shunya jnana karma anavritam anukulyena Krishna anushilam tad bhaktir uttam. So that uttam bhakti is, or the topmost bhakti is, there are different classifications of bhakti, is when we do not have any tinge of any jnana or any kind of karma. So that is basically, it's not for us. Anukulyena Krishna Shilanam. Everything, whatever we do, is to please Sri Krishna. And that is Uttam Bhakti. In Narad Bhakti Sutra, Naradji has mentioned this, and Rup Goswami has taken that same shloka and he has uh, inculcated it in the Bhakti Rasa Amrita Sindhu. So, from the angle of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the consciousness of the Sarva Dharman Parityaja that Krishna spoke on the battlefield of Kurukshetra is not considered the highest. So therefore he says, this is external, tell me more. Then he goes on to say, Brahma Bhuta Prasanna Atma na Sochati na Kankshati Sama Sarveshu Bhuteshu Mad Bhaktir Labhate Param. That wonderful slok from the Bhagavad Gita. That Brahma Bhuta Prasanna Atma, one who is situated on a transcendental platform, then one can actually see everybody equally. Sama Sarveshu Bhuteshu. And one can attain my higher bhakti. But that Brahma Bhuta, it can be confusing because we find that there are many persons in India or on the persons of Vedic culture that are Mayavadis or Brahmavadis. So even they are thinking of merging in the Brahman so that they can be happy. So again, there is a hidden agenda. That hidden agenda is, it is not selfless bhakti, it is not pure bhakti, it is bhakti to save oneself. And we had mentioned that Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur in his Anubhashya has mentioned that those persons who have gone beyond the three modes of material nature, the mode of ignorance, mode of passion, and mode of goodness, Tamo, Rajo, and Satogun, at some point when they reach the higher planetary systems, let's say they reach Brahma Loka, which is the highest Swarga. And in that highest Swarga, they actually are always continuously contemplating that I do not want to go back again and get caught up in this three modes of material nature. I want to merge into the Brahman, into the undifferentiated effulgence, where therefore I will not be subject to the three modes of material nature. But there is no seva there. There is no service there. And then eventually they fall down from that platform. So therefore, Krishna has clearly Mahaprabhu has rejected that shloka from the highest angle, that Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma. So a lot of the Mayavadis and the Brahmavadis who have attained that perfection, who have gone beyond the three modes of material nature, although they are bereft of service to Krishna, because they have gone over the three modes of material nature, it gives them some Brahma Sokyam. Brahma Sokyam means some kind of a bliss, happiness, but it is limited because the soul always, or the jiva, has to have some activity. Without activity, one cannot survive in its existence. So whether it is a bird or a beast or a worm or a human being, in whatever, or a demigod, whatever body we are in, we are always used to doing some activity and service. And out of service, we find happiness. So, but when we are conducting service to temporary people and temporary objects and to unreal objects, then our happiness is temporary. But if we consider that the Supreme Lord has a form, he's a real person, and we can serve him just like we can serve our mother, father, brother, sister. We have relationships, and in relationships, you can serve somebody. You can make some nice dal, rice, sabji, offer it to Krishna, and then serve it to your parents or serve it to your family or your friends. And that way, when they are very happy, satisfied, you are also happy, because that happiness is derived out of some service, selfless service. But when it comes to Mayavadis and Brahmavadis, there is no question of service, because they are already thinking that they are merged into the Brahman and they have become one with God. So although there is some level of bliss, it is not complete, and not the complete experience. So therefore, there is a caution here. That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I reject this also. So practically, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rejects all the verses of Bhagavad Gita, including the key verses. Now, this is very interesting, and I mentioned this in the past. Everybody has a certain level. So basically, there is a foundation, of course. We don't mean to say that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will not accept foundation. Foundation is already accepted, but this is beyond the foundation state. Just like a student, when a student is studying in school, let's say grade 1 to 10, then he has a certain level of understanding, certain subject matters. But as he graduates, undergrad, grad, masters, doctorate, postdoc, then it becomes very specialized. So this is we are talking about specialization in this matter of bhakti, which is beyond the initial foundational stages. So therefore, these slokas of the Bhagavad Gita have been rejected. So then Rayaramananda says that Lord Brahma said, by quoting Lord Brahma from the Srimad Bhagavatam. So now Bhagavad Gita is finished in terms of the quotations, in terms of the goal of life, based on that. Rayaramananda has quoted some wonderful verses from Bhagavad Gita, which apparently for most of us is perfect. And no doubt it is perfect, because Krishna spoke it. But again, according to time, place, and circumstances, there are different levels and graduations. So we cannot say the bhakti of Arjun or the bhakti of Bhishmadev or the bhakti of Dhruv and Prahlad. We cannot compare it to the bhakti of the Vrajvasis. We cannot compare it to the bhakti of Subal, Sridham, Stoka Krishna, all the friends of Krishna, the Sakhas of Krishna. They are of a much higher level of devotion to Krishna, and they give much more pleasure to Krishna. So then the bhakti of Nanda Maharaj, Yashoda Mai, and the elderly gopis and gopas of Vrindavan, their bhakti is far more than what we find in the Vaikuntha Lokas, and even as a specialty, we can say more special than the friends of Krishna in Vrindavan. And then we find that the topmost bhakti has been exhibited by the gopis of Vrindavan in the Madhurya Rasa, and there is no parallel to it. That is why Krishna always hankers after Vrindavan, and Krishna always hankers after the gopis. Krishna becomes Bhakta Vashya in Golok Vrindavan. And in Vaikuntha, Krishna or Krishna's expansions or his avatars are Bhakta Vatsala. There is a huge difference. Bhakta Vatsala means one who takes care of everyone, just like a calf. Vatsa means calf in Sanskrit. So the mother cow takes care of the calf, provides all the needs of the cow, the little baby calf, the milk, protection, warmth, etc. So similarly, most of the people in this world, those who believe in God, whether they are Hindus or followers of the Vedic Sanatan Dharma, or they are followers of Christianity, Judaism, Islam, you name it, those who are believers of God, they are generally in that category where they're always asking things of God. My dear God, please give me this. My dear God, please give me that. My dear God, so there's a long list of things that everybody is asking. So Sri Prabhupada mentioned that God is like our order supplier. So like, we order and Krishna or Krishna's avatar supply. So, and then therefore, they're just like a son or a daughter asks the father, Father, I want this. Mother, I want this. Father, I want this toy. Mother, I want this. So the father and mother, they keep supplying that. So that is Bhakta Vatsala. So that Bhakta Vatsala Prem is all right. Nothing wrong. If somebody is satisfied with that, great. So just like somebody is satisfied by passing the 12th grade and then they just want to go into the mainstream and perform some blue collar job, drive a bus or a taxi or work in a factory, and they're happy. So people have choices. They are happy. Some people, they want to study more and they do graduation, and after graduation, for them they are satisfied and they look for a clerical job and a 9 to 5 job in the offices, and then they are satisfied with their weekly or monthly salary, and that's basic middle class life. They are happy. I'm giving a material example so that we can understand this, what I'm trying to drive home here. Some of them even go further than the bachelors. They go into masters and double masters and research. So their passion for education also kind of gives them better jobs and better opportunities, materially speaking. And then they are satisfied. Some people stop at masters, but some go beyond masters. They want to do their PhD. And some want to go even beyond the PhD. They want to take not only one PhD, but they want to do PhD in more than one subject and further specialized subjects. So it depends on every individual. Everybody has got minute independence or anu swatantrata. Anu means very small, and swatantrata means independence. So Krishna is Purna Swatantra or Swarat. And because we are made in his image, because we have the same qualities as Krishna, Krishna is Vibhu. He is huge, unlimited. But we are Anu. Anu means extremely atomic, infinitesimal. So because we are infinitesimal, we still possess those qualities of Krishna. So because Krishna is fully independent, we also possess that quality of independence, but it is in a very minute quantity. So there even Krishna does not interfere. So he lets us use our minute independence as per our desire and as per what satisfies us. We act accordingly. So similarly, coming back to all these material examples that I gave, we can kind of now understand the spiritual. So some people are satisfied once they with whatever spiritual activities they're doing. Some people, I remember when I was a child, there was one uncle living in the building. Every day he used to go take some oil and go to the Hanumanji temple and offer oil to the deity of Hanumanji and come back with a saffron tilak. And then there was somebody else going to the Durga temple. So that is what their life was. They were satisfied with their personal spiritual life. But spiritual life is unlimited. Krishna is unlimited. And especially the crescendo or the highest possible uh, spiritual life one can attain is the Vraj Bhakti, especially in the Madhurya Rasa. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because he was speaking not to some any ordinary guru, Vishakha Sakhi, in the form of Rayaramananda, who is always involved in the Madhurya Rasa of and who knows the prema as understood the Ujjwal Prem, Jaya Jaya Ujjwala Rasa, Sarva Rasa Sar, Parkiya Bhave Jaha, Vrajeta Prachar, Jai Radhe, Jai Krishna, Jai Vrindavan, Shri Govinda Gopinath, Madana Mohan. So, like this, we find that the ordinary, although the question may be ordinary, it may appear ordinary, but the answers, ordinary answers, were not acceptable by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So now, Ramanand Rai, then he further, now after Bhagavad Gita, he goes on to Srimad Bhagavatam. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam, he quotes from the 10th canto, in the Brahma Vimohan Leela, after Lord Brahma steals all the calves of Krishna and his coward friends, and then because he was under illusion, thinking that Krishna is an ordinary boy because he was fighting over a piece of laddu in the picnic. What kind of a god this is that he's trying to fight over a small piece of laddu with Madhumangal, like this. So thinking that this is to test that whether he's god or not, he kidnapped all the calves that they were herding in Kamyavan, and all the boys that were there, one by one, Brahmaji kidnapped his friends. But Krishna was so powerful, he knows everything. He's Abhigya. He knows everything. So he duplicated himself exactly as the form of all his friends, the coward friends, the Gopals, and also all the calves, all the little calves that they were herding, identical exactly. And Lord Brahma was perplexed. And then, so to make a long Leela short, Lord Brahma finally realizes that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So then there's a wonderful prayers by Lord Brahma. So from that, Rayaramananda is quoting that Lord Brahma said, "My dear Lord, those devotees who have thrown away their impersonal conception of the absolute truth and have therefore abandoned discussing empirical philosophical truths should hear from self-realized devotees about your holy names, forms, pastimes, and qualities. They should completely follow the principles of devotional service and remain free from illicit sex, gambling, intoxication, and animal slaughter. Surrendering themselves fully with body, words, and mind, they can live in any ashram or social status. Indeed, you are conquered by such persons, although you are always unconquerable." So now Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, at this point, Mahaprabhu said, this is good, this is all right, but still you can speak more on this subject matter. So this was so far I have summarized everything that about this particular conversation between Rai Ramanand ji and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So now Lord Brahma, Ramanand Rai is further quoting, "Nana upchara kruta pujanamartha bandho premanaiva bhakta rudayam sukha vidrutam syat yavat shud asti jatara jaratha pipasa tavat sukhaya bhavato nanu bhakshapeye." So Ramanand Rai said that as long as there is hunger and thirst within the stomach, Nana Upchar means all the different offerings, meaning whatever items that we offer to the stomach, meaning different food items that we eat. Pujanam, worshipping, Atra Bandho, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whatever, as long as there is hunger and thirst within the stomach, all the varieties of food and drink make us very, very happy. So here, this is an example that, different varieties of foods that is being served, and when we have hunger and thirst, Everything is wonderful. We love it. Similarly, here in using this example of the food and the hunger and thirst, similarly, when the Lord is worshipped with pure love, the various activities performed in the course of that worship awaken transcendental bliss in the heart of the devotee. So, when this is performed with prema, the prem here means that this is a prem that is not without any material motivation. That is very important. Like Srimad Bhagavatam says, the prem, that what kind of dharma? Ahaituki apratiyata, without any material motive, and it should be uninterrupted. So, like this, quoting this from the Srimad Bhagavatam, then he quotes from the wonderful Krishna Bhakti Rasabhavita Matihi Kriyatam Yadi Kuto Api Labhyate Tatra Lolyam Api Mulyam Ekalam Janma Koti Sukrite Na Labhyate. So this is the same verse that Rupa Goswami has mentioned in the Padyavali, which Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami probably it has been applied here, that Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita, those who are absorbed in the pure rasa, the nectar of Krishna Bhakti, pure devotional service in Krishna consciousness cannot be had even by pious activity in hundreds and thousands of years. So this is a very important point, my dear devotees. Even if one performs millions and millions and millions of years of satogun or sattvic activities or punya karma, one that is not going to necessarily give us pure bhakti. I will repeat this again. Most people think that by performing activities in satogun like punya karma, then they will get Krishna prem or pure bhakti. No. So here it has been clearly said that na labhyate Krishna bhakti rasa bhavita sukritai na labhyate janma koti sukritai na labhyate. Even after millions and millions of birth, this by pious activities or by punya karma, one cannot obtain. So how can one obtain pure Krishna bhakti? So pure bhakti can be obtained tatra lolyam api mulyam ekalam. The only price to obtain that pure Krishna bhakti is greed, lobha, lolyam. Yes, so we all have lobe. Some of us have lobe for money, some of us have lobe for some material assets. So that lobe is there, but that lobe has to be turned towards obtaining Krishna bhakti. It's the same desire or the same activity, but it has to be simply dovetailed towards Krishna. So that lobha is the only price. Just like everything has a price in this world, if you have to fly somewhere, we have to pay the airline ticket, or we have to buy a shawl, you go to the shop, you pay, and you get the price. You buy a shirt, glasses, anything around us that we see in our house or in the office, everything has a price. You have to pay. So what is the price of pure bhakti? Krishna bhakti, rasa bhavita. The pure bhakti price is lolyam or greed, lobh. We find that the same principle has been spoken by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. We sing that every morning in the Mangalarti. Shri Radhika Madhavyor Apara Madhurya Leela Guna Rupa Namnam Prati Shana Swadana Lolupasya Lolupasya Vande Guru Sri Charnarvindam. In the 5th verse of the Mangalarti, Vishwanath Chakravarti Pad in the Guru Ashtakam, he says that Sri Radhika Madhavyor Apara, the unlimited pastimes of Radha and Krishna. And what kind of pastimes? In Madhurya Leela, which is the highest, the conjugal rasa. Guna, the qualities of Radha and Krishna and the gopis of Vrindavan. Nama, Guna, Rupa, their beauty, Namanam, and the holy names, with great greed, lolyam. Sri Radhika Madhavya Rapara Madhurya Leela Guna Rupa Nam Nam Pratishan. Every moment with great greed. Just like somebody who is extremely greedy for something, every second, every shan, every moment that person is greedy. Everywhere, supposing somebody is very greedy for money, everywhere he sees money, 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 money. How I can get more? How, every moment he's thinking about money. Every moment that greed is there to obtain money. Similarly, Prati Shan, every moment, the pure Acharya in the line of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Prati Shan Aswadan with great relish. Aswadan means one who relishes, just like with great relish when some very, very nice, wonderful, sweet dish is there, and how we relish that we even sometimes lick our fingers or lick the spoon, like a very nice ice cream or that or any gulab jamun or something like that. It is so wonderfully made that not even one little drop we would want to let go, right? So prati aswad, that is how our acharyas are. That is how the pure devotees who are in Krishna bhakti rasa, that they are every moment, they have so much greed. Prati shanaswadana lolupasya vande guru shri charanaravinda. Vishwanath Chakravarti says, I offer my dandavats to all those gurus. Again, it is guru ho. It is not guru. I have mentioned this many times in our katha that people have this tendency to mispronounce when they are singing in the Mangalarti. It is Vande Guru Sricha. Guru means plural. It is just not the initiating spiritual master or one particular spiritual master, unto all the spiritual masters, unto all the gurus. So that is what Rai Ramanand is suggesting now, using this verse from the Shastra, that pure devotional service cannot be obtained even through thousands and thousands and millions of lives of punya karma, pious activities, but it can be only obtained by paying one price. Tatra lolyam api mulyam ekalam. Ekalam means only one. There is no other price for it. Ekalam, lolyam api, that is greed, intense greed to obtain it. If it is available somewhere, one must purchase it without delay. So, first of all, that greed has to arise in the heart, that desire has to come. And when that desire arises in the heart, Krishna is situated in our heart as Paramatma knows, and he will make those arrangements for us. By making arrangements, by meeting different Rasik Vaishnavas. See, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam sat tathaiva bhajamiyam. If one worships me a certain way, then I will reciprocate in that particular way. So, if our goal is that, oh, I want money also, and I want bhakti also, or I want knowledge also, and I want some bhakti, so Gyan Mishra Bhakti, or some kind of mixed devotion. So Krishna has in our heart has understood, so he will make arrangements. And then he will make arrangements where we will meet such like-minded people. So it is okay to drink tea, it is okay to drink coffee, it is okay to sometimes drink alcohol, it is okay to eat meat, but come, and we can do satsang. So many people do that. So then Krishna arranges for those people that this person doesn't want to take that step of becoming pure. He still wants to associate with the tamasic or the modes of material nature, where they cannot give up meat or onion or garlic. Then accordingly, some or the other, they arrange all those satsangs or those different groups where people are all eating meat, onion, garlic, but still they do some spiritual activity. Maybe not in this life, but in the future lifetimes, because of whatever little spiritual activity that they perform, they will get the benefit. But for those who have understood the purity is the force, Prabhupada says, then we have to be very careful. We have to advance fast. Then we have to, just like if we want to make more money, then we have to work hard. Simple. Just a very simple example. Similarly, if we want to advance to the higher and higher classes of spiritual life, then we have to follow what our acharyas who are actually there giving us instructions of sadhana bhakti, and then they will open up the doors for raganuga bhakti. So like this. So Srila Prabhupada mentions in this purport, the previous two verses are included in the Padyavali. Padyavali is a composition by Srila Rup Goswami. An anthology compiled by Srila Rup Goswami. Verse 69 refers to devotional service in faith, and verse 70 refers to devotional service rendered out of intense greed. So, two things. There is devotional service out of faith. So, most of the people all over the world have some faith. But this second verse that was mentioned, which is of a higher gradation, with Rup Goswami has given some delineation out of intense greed. So that takes a higher precedence over the faith. The first is a devotional service rendered in accordance with regulative principles, and the second refers to spontaneous loving service. So the first one is based on sadhana bhakti, and the second one is based on raganuga bhakti, spontaneous loving service of Lord without extraneous endeavor. Henceforward, the basic principle underlying the talks between Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramanand Rai will be spontaneous loving service to the Lord. So henceforth, Shraddha, faith, and other subject matters that were there that have been put on the shelf. So Prabhupada has mentioned, henceforth, whatever is going to be discussed, it is going to be discussion between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Rai Ramananda will be all about Raganuga Bhakti, spontaneous love. Spontaneous means one doesn't have to be told to do this. Right now in our sadhana bhakti, we have to tell our mind that, oh, wake up in the morning, oh, chant your rounds, oh, don't eat meat, oh, don't drink alcohol, don't drink tea, don't drink coffee, don't do this, don't do this, do this. So these things, either our guru or our other Vaishnavas who are guiding us, they have to tell us. Or if there's nobody, our own mind, because we have learned it, it tells us. So this process is that we are still under bhajana kriya and anartha nivritti stage. Ado Shraddha, first there is faith. Then because of faith, either we go to the temple and place of worship and we meet sadhus or Vaishnavas. So we get Vaishnava Sangha, Tatha Sadhu Sangha. And Vaishnavas guide us. They tell us, don't do this. No meat eating, no gambling, no intoxication, no illicit sex. Don't drink anything that is going to make you a slave, will make you Godas. We have to become Goswami. Go means our senses, our Indri. And we have to become master, Jitendriya. We have to conquer our senses. Because the Jiva is right now in this material body and is thinking that I am this body. I am Indian, I am Punjabi, I am Bengali, I am American, I am Canadian, I am Chinese. The body can be Chinese or the body can be Indian or African, but the soul is not Indian, African, or Chinese. Soul is exclusively none other than Ansha, a part and parcel of Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So anything on the bodily concept, and if we keep this body comfortable by giving whatever it wants a cigarette, it wants some alcohol, it wants tea, it wants coffee, it wants pungent foods. Like otherwise, some people, they say, oh, how can you all make without onion garlic? Yesterday we had a couple young fellows who came, and my wife made some rice preparation and they loved it. And my wife said yes, and then she said that they said that this is so beautifully made. And my wife said, yes, this is without onion garlic. And the boy said, oh, wow, without onion garlic, auntie, this is amazing. We cannot even think of making anything without onion garlic. We must need that, before we start preparing any sabji or dal or anything like that. So that is the thing about controlling the senses. Onion, garlic, meat, liquor, anything that can make us slaves is tamasic in nature. It's in tamogun. And if we want to understand higher subject matters, just like supposing if somebody just puts a 5-year-old boy into the PhD classroom, he's not going to understand anything. He's just going to simply stare at the board and the other students, and not a single thing will be understood because that person is not qualified. It will not absorb whatever the professor is teaching. So slowly we have to graduate so that our consciousness is purified and we will understand higher subject matters. So similarly, from now on, the conversation will be about spontaneous love. It will be all about prema. Because when it is only faith, and then from faith it just simply goes to the Shraddha part, will take us into uh, sadhana bhakti. Sadhana bhakti will be from Vaishnava Sang to Anartha Nivritti, Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivritti. Then comes uh, Nishtha, Ruchi, Asakti, Bhav, and then Prema. So Nishtha, Ruchi, Bhav, Asakti, and Prem that's where our spontaneous love begins. That goes beyond, because then we don't have to tell ourselves that, oh, I want to wake up, I have to wake up, Arey Baba, I have to wake up, I have to wake up to do my mala. Oh, I have not chanted today, I have to still chant another X amount of rounds. Oh, that so much anxiety is there even in the devotee's life, because that devotee is not obtained spontaneous love. The moment we obtain spontaneous rag bhav, attachment to Krishna, it is automatic. Waking up is an automatic thing. Doing the mala is a very pleasurable thing. We don't even realize that 2 hours, 3 hours we have chanted, or we have done some reading, or we did some kirtan, or we associated with like-minded Vaishnavas and we had a discussion. Then it is very spontaneous. The seva we do at home for Krishna is very spontaneous. Nice dresses, nice alankars, nice shringar, nice foodstuffs that we make. They are so opulent for Krishna's satisfaction. It is spontaneous. That is called Raganuga Bhakti. So the spontaneous love, that is the conversation. So that's what's going to happen from now on. The regulative principles, according to the injunctions of the Shastras, are necessary insofar as one's original dormant Krishna consciousness is not spontaneously awakened. So the point here Srila Prabhupada is making is that all this sadhana bhakti of doing mala, waking up early, etc., reading Bhagavad Gita, is to awaken our Krishna consciousness, because it is dormant. It has gone to sleep for many, many births because of our engagement in material life. So these things will, reading Bhagavad Gita and all these sadhana bhakti, will wake up the soul from that dormant consciousness. But that does not mean that the soul has got Krishna prema. And that is the difference here. So as an example of spontaneous action is the flowing rivers into the ocean. So Srila Prabhupada gives the example that the rivers are flowing all the way down into the samudra, into the ocean. Nothing can stop the river from flowing. So that is called spontaneous flow, spontaneous action. Nothing can stop the flow of water. Similarly, when one dormant Krishna consciousness or that Chaitana is awakened, it spontaneously flows to the lotus feet of Krishna without any impediment or hindrances. Whatever will be spoken henceforth by Rayaramananda based on spontaneous love will be agreeable to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the Lord will ask him more and more about the subject. So it is just not that the devotee has greed, even the Lord has greed. And we explained that last time about the greed of the Lord on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance when we did Harikatha. We explained how the Lord developed greed, because in the previous avatars prior to Narsingadev, they never had any parents. And after Narsingadev had picked up Prahlad and put him on his lap after killing Hiranyakashipu, being so pleased with Prahlad, and Prahlad offered him a garland, and he calmed down Narsingadev Bhagwan. He was so angry. No, not even the demigods, the Devi Devatas could go close. Even Brahmaji asked Lakshmi Devi, please go calm your husband. She said, no, Baba, no, I cannot do it. He's very angry right now. I don't think I can go close to him. So then Lord Brahma asked Prahlad to go, and Prahlad goes without any fear. He goes to Lord Narsingadev with a garland. That's that famous picture where Prahlad Maharaj is about to garland Lord Narsingadev. And Narsingadev Bhagwan puts him on his lap. And then he calms down. And when he calms down, he simply kisses Prahlad's head and he smells his forehead. And like that, suddenly a Vatsalya Prem, father-like love, fatherly kind of love, uh, is spontaneous in the heart of Nrsimhadev. And then he thinks that, I wish I had parents. So from my next birth onwards, I will always take parents so that I can have that exchange of Vatsalya Prem. So after the avatar of Lord Nrsimhadev, it is said that most of the avatars that they came, they took parents. So that exchange where the Supreme Lord has taken um, father and mother, so that that exchange of that fatherly or motherly love or the Vatsalya Prem can happen. And then also that greed further went, like for example, in the Ramchandra avatar, we find that that greed was actually, it is said that the greed was for Virya Ras, for the warrior, Kshatriya Ras. So nobody would fight with with Lord Ramachandra in Vaikuntha. So he decided, through the agency of Yogamaya, that he would arrange the four Kumaras to visit Vaikuntha, and Jai Vijay, the two doorkeepers, stopped them, and they got cursed. Generally, there is no question of cursing in Vaikuntha, but it happened because he wanted to fight that Viryaras. Just like, when you need to practice badminton or a cricket, you cannot do it alone. You need at least one player, for somebody who can bowl, somebody can bat. Or even if you're playing table tennis, you need two players, right? So similarly, even when you want to practice Yuddha or the Kshatriya spirit, then you need somebody. Like we see that sometimes in clubs, they do sparring with the swords, right? So there are two opponents, or when they are in the what do you call, dojo, karate or kung fu, there is a sparring, or in the boxing ring, even though they are not enemies or there is no real competition, but for even practice purposes, there are two persons and they practice, they box each other, right? So similarly, that Viryaras greed came to Lord Ramachandra and the different avatars of the Lord. Therefore, they wanted to, and therefore they had to come on this earth. And then Lord Ramachandra, even further, he saw that he had friends like Vibhishan and other friends like Sugriv, which we considered him as friends. But that friendship, that greed was more, because that was Sambrahma Prem. But the prema between friends in Vrindavan of Krishna is Vishramba Prem. That prem between Madhumangal and Krishna and Vibhishan and Lord Ramachandra is different, although that is friendly. So that greed also developed in Ramachandra, Lord Bhagavan Ramachandra. Lord Ramachandra also developed that greed of that Madhurya Rasa, which he could not practice as Maryada Purushottam. He had only one wife, a Sita Devi. But in Raj, Krishna has many, many gopis who he reciprocates in conjugal rasa, in Madhurya Rasa. So Lord Ramachandra developed that desire or that greed. So that greed is there because everything comes from Krishna. Yeah, everything. The so-called bad qualities also that we have in this world, they actually all emanate from Krishna, but they are all good when they're used in Krishna's service. For example, anger is a very bad thing. We all know that. But anger has to be sometimes used even in Krishna's seva, in Bhagwan's seva. Like Hanumanji Maharaj used this seva, and if he was not angry, he could have not burnt Lanka. He burnt Lanka for the seva of Lord Ramachandra. He was a messenger, and he tried to explain as a good messenger to Ravan and Indrajit that, Lord Ramachandra is the Supreme Lord. Please surrender unto him. He is so kind that he will even forgive the worst offender. But they never listened. So he wanted to show that, look, if I, ordinary monkey, can burn your whole Lanka, can you guess what is going to happen to you? So he had to get very angry at them because they rejected and they laughed at him, etc. So that anger that Hanumanji Maharaj had, he used it for the service of Lord Ram. Similarly, greed is a bad thing, but greed can be used in the service of the Lord to obtain the service of the Lord. And so it's vice versa. And the more greedy we get, the more greedy Krishna gets to associate with us and give us his service. So here the greed of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is expressed because from now on there will only be discussion on on prema bhakti, on spontaneous love. Nothing can stop the flow of the river into the ocean. Whatever will be spoken henceforth by Ramananda will be on spontaneous love. And the Lord will ask him more and more about this subject matter. So even when we reach Krishna prema or spontaneous love, there also there are different delineations or specialties. So as we will further see in this particular discussion. Then in further, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Prabhu kahe eho hoy, aage kaho yaar, rai kaho dasya prema, sarva sadhya sar. So Prabhu kahe, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, eho hoy, that is all right. So accepted from the last two verses, last 2 points that he made, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has accepted those points. Aage kaho, but please tell me more. Previously used to say, iho bahya, aage kaho. Iho bahya means this is external. This is not internal, not pure bhakti, external. But here he's saying from the last 2 points that he made, that what regardless of where we are and whatever status we are, we should worship Krishna, who is unconquerable. He's known as Ajita. Ajita Jito Apiva. One can conquer Krishna by our faith with Shraddha and following the different principles in whatever ashram we are situated. Follow our duties nicely by keeping Krishna in the center with our mind, words, and body. And then when we do that, we will be able to conquer the unconquerable Sri Krishna. So then Mahaprabhu says, that's all right. And then from after that, he talks about spontaneous love in the previous verse, where he quotes about the greed. Krishna Bhakti can be obtained. Mulyam ekalam. Only one price is pure greed for obtaining pure Krishna Bhakti. So that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has accepted, but he still wants to hear more. So Prabhupada mentions spontaneous loving service to the Lord is called devotional service with an intimate attachment between the servitor and the served. So there is an intimate attachment. See, right now, even when those of us who are practicing Krishna consciousness, we can analyze ourselves. How much are we intimately attached to Krishna? We are attached, but we are not intimately attached. Just like, I will give another material example. Some people, like a very popular president or a prime minister, let's say, for example, in India, Prime Minister Modi is very popular. And to most people, let's say that, to most of them, he has been a popular prime minister. So people are attached to him, but they are not intimately attached. Intimately attached are who? His family members, his cabinet members, or his advisors, or his secretary. Correct? That is the difference. So that is what I wanted to, by giving this example. The spontaneous loving service of the Lord is called devotional service with an intimate attachment between the servitor, meaning the sevak, and Prabhu, the Lord. The intimacy is called mamata. Mamata means mine. In Sanskrit, mamata means mine. We even use those words in Gujarati or in many other Indian languages, mamata. That mamata means that attachment, that you are mine. Between the servitor and the served, there is feeling of oneness. This mamta begins with dasya prema. So those who are serving Sri Krishna or his avatar in the form of a das, but with mamta, like Hanumanji Maharaj had a lot of mamta, that this is my Lord Ramachandra, that mamta. So it begins with dasya prema, service rendered to the master by the servant. Unless there is such a relationship, the loving affairs between the Lord and his devotee are not actually fixed. When the devotee feels the Lord is my master and renders service unto him, Krishna consciousness is awakened. This fixed consciousness is on a higher platform than simple cognizance of the love of God. So again, on a very good point Srila Prabhupada is making, that just by knowledge of love of God doesn't necessarily mean that we have obtained that love. Just like somebody sitting in India has knowledge about America or Europe, but does not mean that they have experienced Europe or America. That's the difference that Srila Prabhupada is trying to. So there has to be some interaction, intimacy. Even we find that a servant, in our practical experience, we have seen that from our childhood. We had a servant in our grandmother's house, and he practically, right from the time I was born, he was there until uh, at least 30 years or so. And there was that I saw. Now I can put it together when I'm thinking about the servant that we had in our house. My nanny, my grandmother had. He was so spontaneous in serving my grandmother in all respects, or the family, including my uncle, aunt, and etc. He did not have to be told that do this, do that, do this, do that. It was like spontaneous. If my grandmother needed something, he would step out of the house, say, I'm going out. Can I bring you flowers for your puja? Can I bring tulsi? Can I bring this? Before leaving, he would ask. He was not told that bring this or bring that. He knew that. So that is, and then there was an attachment. When he finally left in his old age, my grandmother started crying. We all felt that separation. For a servant, he was a part of the family. Without him, it was not possible. And everybody knew him so well. Just like, I'll give you an example. When we talk about servitorship, there was Ishan Thakur, the servant of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who lived in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's house. Yeah, his name was Ishan, but he was known as Ishan Thakur. He was such a great elevated devotee because he served Sachi Mata. He served Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Ishan Thakur was a great personality, but he did menial jobs in the house, like cleaning the house, and buying vegetables and cutting the vegetables and helping with all the menial needs. But he was held in highest esteem. So why? Because there was intimacy. But we have even servitorship that we do. Like supposing when we go to work, 9 to 5, we go in an office, we go to the bank, or we go to some place of work. We are not attached to the boss. 9 o'clock we are there, 5 p.m. we are out. We are concerned with our paycheck, Friday to Friday, and that's it. There is no intimacy. Sometimes the boss even doesn't know your name in a big company, and the owner or the CEO. Or sometimes, even if you know your immediate supervisor, they don't know the names of your children or your parents, or they've never met them. There's no intimacy. So even in servitorship relationship, that intimacy can be obtained. And that's what Rayaramanada Prabhu is quoting. So now he's quoting a verse substantiating that dasyaras. So yannam shruti matrena pumana bhavati nirmalaha tasya tirtha pada kimva dasanam avishishyate. Meaning, a man becomes purified simply by hearing the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose lotus feet create the holy places of pilgrimage. Therefore, what remains to be attained by those who become his servants? What a beautiful verse. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam 9th canto. This verse has been quoted by Rayaramananda. So this is between the conversation when Durvasa Muni. It is said that in an admission, Durvasa Muni, after he mentions that a caste Brahman and a great yogi used to hate Maharaj Amrish, because Durvasa Muni was such a great rishi, big name. He was a big Brahman, but he hated Amrish Maharaj. He committed offenses against Amrish Maharaj. But when he decided to chastise Maharaj Amrish through the yogic powers, he created one Jatasur from his jata, from his hair. He created one demon to kill him. So Krishna from Vaikuntha, Lord Narayana sent Sudarshan Chakra to kill that demon. Got destroyed, and then that Sudarshan Chakra went after Durvasa Muni. So when things were settled after Durvasa Muni begged for forgiveness of not only of Lord Narayana but also of Amrish Maharaj. So after things settle, so he mentions this, that even the holy name of the Supreme Lord is heard by, when it is heard by any person, that person is immediately sanctified. So when we chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, or any names of the Lord, Govinda, Keshava, Madhava, etc., then immediately the person speaking and the persons listening, they are purified. Durvasa Muni is mentioning this. But then he also says that what to talk about those who are servants of the Lord, what to talk about them, those who have taken his shelter, that means Vaishnavas, if they have taken shelter, naturally come to own his opulence. So these Vaishnavas obtain the qualities of the Supreme Lord. What is that opulence meaning? It does not necessarily mean material opulence. Opulence, real opulence, is the inner sweetness. The Lord is very kind. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu. He is an ocean of mercy. Similarly, the Vaishnavas are oceans of mercy. Samsara davanala leader loka tranaya karunya gana ganatvam. Praptasya kalyana gunarnavasya vande guru Sri Charanarvindam. They are like a thundering cloud full of rain that can extinguish the forest fire in this material world. And they are Gunarnava. Gunarnava means they are an ocean of wonderful transcendental qualities. So Krishna is an ocean of transcendental qualities. So are his Vaishnavas. So Durvasa Muni is saying the same thing. What to talk about those who are actually serving you? This is so beautiful. And then he goes on to say, Rayaramananda is giving this wonderful shloka from the Shastra, which is from the Stota Ratna. He quotes that Bhavantam eva nucharam nirantara prashanta nisesha mano ratha antraha kada aham aikantika nitya kinkaraha prahara syami sa nath jivitam. Meaning, by serving you constantly, oh Krishna, one is freed from all material desires. So, Dasya Seva, just by Seva, intimate Seva to the Lord, all our material desires are eradicated, they are destroyed. So, when shall I engage as your permanent eternal servant and always feel joyful to have such a perfect master? So, this is quoted by Sri Yamunacharya, one great Acharya. He's praying that, my dear Lord, when will I be able to attain that perfection so that I can get your seva? Because just by engaging in your seva, when will I become your permanent servant? See, this is the prayer of the pure Acharya. When shall I engage as your permanent servant? Manoratha kada aham aikantikam. Aikantika means exclusive. Nitya kinkara. Kinkara means a servant. The word kinkara in Sanskrit means kim, means what? Or in Hindi we say kya. And kara means to do. Kya karu? What can I do? Kinkara. So a servant of the Lord is always, or a Vaishnava is always anxious. What else can I do? What else can I serve? How else can I serve? Kinkara. That is the another nice verse from the Guru Ashtakam, the Mangalarti. Is Nikunja yuno ratikeli siddhya yaya alibhir yuktir apekshaniya tatrati dakshat ativallavasya vande guru Sri Charanarvindam. So the Acharya in the line of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is an expert in the service of Radha and Krishna in the Nikunja, in the forest of Vrindavan, in the wonderful bowers, in the intimate seva of Radha and Krishna. Nikunja, you know, rati keli siddhya, in the Madhurya Rasa, rati keli siddhya, they have obtained that perfection. Seva is of a very, very paramount nature. We find that real service is when the recipient of the service is happy, not the renderer. When the recipient of the service is very happy, the renderer automatically feels happiness. But the main goal is the recipient of the seva. When we serve Krishna, it is for his pleasure we should be serving, not for our pleasure. So that's number one. Number two, when the recipient of the service is happy, even at our own discomfort. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that Tomar Shevaye Yadi Kashta Yadi Hoy Shei to Parama Sukha. Even if I have to go through many different difficulties in your seva for me, I will consider those difficulties as Param Sukha, as the greatest joy. So the object of service is important. So most of us, we see that what joy we will get. So we choose a particular service that will give us joy, or we will choose to make some items that we offer to Krishna that we like. We will. But we don't make things that Krishna likes, and we don't even care to know what Krishna likes. Of course, everybody knows Krishna likes Makhan Misri, but there are so many other things that Krishna likes. Last week, I think, when I did the katha, I sang or at least I mentioned about the Bhoga Arti that Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written. There are so many different items that are being served by Radharani and Yashoda Maiya in Krishna's plate. So like this, we have to learn. The Rasik Acharyas of Raj, they have given us so many wonderful things that are offered. I remember when I go to Raj, every time I go to the different temples of Raj, especially Mukharam in Jatipura, and there's a Manoratha happening. There are so many different elaborate items that they make that Krishna loves. In Raj. And all these are based on Shastra, based on Mother Yashoda. What Mother Yashoda used to make for Krishna. Like, for example, there is a nice pada, I think, by Paramanandas. Ai gori gwalan chakali, ai gori gwalan chakali, Yashomati sab pakwan chhabvar, Yashomati sab pakwan chhabvar, Pathaiti gori, ai gori gwalan chakali. So in this particular bhajan, the Vrajvasi Acharya has written, Ai Gori Gwalan Chakli. So in the afternoon, when Krishna is herding the cows, the gopis come, and they carry the chak. Chak means that there's all different tokris, baskets. And what is that? Yashomati sab pakwan chhab bhar. Mother Yashoda has sent different pakwans, different kind of food items, mohandar, mathdi, different types of sweet items are sent, chas, kamak karori, and then there's yogurt in a golden vessel. All these things are, so these are all different seva paddhati. If we go to Pushtimarg temples, we find that the perfect seva paddhati has been more wonderfully elaborated. What time of the day, what kind of foods to be served, what kind of foods are served in the summertime, what kind of foods are served in the winter. Cooling foods are served in the summertime, warm foods or hot foods are served in the winter time. Even for the pleasure of Krishna, what kind of different scented oils are used in summer? They are different. Generally, what we do, we buy something from Vrindavan, it lasts the whole year. We apply the same, maybe different varieties of oils. Most of them, we get cheated. They're made of chemicals. They're not even pure. Although they smell like gulab or rose or hina or kesar, but most of the stuff that we don't buy it from a reputed store, and that from those particular places, those who have been serving the main deities of Vrindavan, only they get pure stuff. It is expensive, but it is for the pleasure of Krishna. So they offer. But what we do is we just take any kind of ittar, any scented oil, and we offer it to Krishna at any time of the year. No, it's not done. So for example, for the pleasure of Krishna, at least in some things that we have, the basics are there, no doubt. That in summertime we offer the Mayur Pankha, the extra item after the chamar, the last part of the arti we offer is the fan, peacock feather fan. But we don't offer it in winter because Krishna will feel sick, because of the more cold air fanning. So like this, in summer we find that in most of the temples in Raj, nowadays they have air conditioning, but previously there used to be the temple, even during the day and night, there were servants who simply had the ceiling fan that was That was a piece of huge cloth that was tied to a rope through some kind of a pulley system, and they used to pull. Just like we find, you've seen that, when they, in the big churches, they pull the rope and the bell on the top starts ringing. So similarly, that action, I've seen it in my childhood in Braj, that they pull that, and that the huge piece of fan will roll in the temple on top of Krishna forest, but it's not done in winter. So that is why we have to see, that is the seva. So the seva is very important. Seva we don't understand. Actually, in reality we speak, if we analyze ourselves, even when we are serving Guru or any Vaishnava, we want to serve what we like. We want to show off that we are serving. When we even discuss that, oh, I made so many items, I did this, I did that, I did that. And then we give so many things, we don't even care to know, whether the person has eaten well or not. Or sometimes we overforce. Oh, Gurudev, I made this also. Can you please have it? I also made this. Can you please have it? Are Lava, let the man have prasadam in peace. And then the 20 other devotees will bring some tiffin. We understand there is love. But love that is overpowering the purpose of service is not real love. It is just like one time there was a monkey. The monkey was so favorite of the king. Wherever the king went, the monkey went. If the king went home, the monkey would go. When the king went to sleep in the bedroom, the monkey had a small little bed. And the king had the monkey come into his bedroom. When he went into the palace, the monkey would sit right next to him on the throne. So one day in the middle of the sabha, in the middle of the entire audience, at that time there was one fly that sat on the king's nose. So immediately the monkey is thinking, oh, now this is my master. I love him. He loves me so much. He took the king's sword right away and he wanted to kill that fly. And when he tried to do so, the fly, the sword could not even touch the fly. The fly immediately flew away, but it cut the king's nose. And the king started bleeding so badly and it hurt the king. So sometimes, we don't think what real seva is. Either it is based on some kind of pratishtha, based on some kind of self-aggrandizement. I did this, I want to. Real seva is, what is the real pleasure? Like Prabhupada said that if I want a glass of milk, you give me milk. And if I ask for a glass of water, you give me water. Because maybe milk is not good for me at the moment. Maybe I have an upset stomach and I don't need milk. But if you give me a nice cooling glass of water, that is perfect for me. But then if we force, no, this is very wonderful, great lassi made, and it has got the dry fruits in it, and very expensive, served in a golden glass, but it does not help. Just like a bird in a cage. You can give the bird a golden cage. It's studded with many diamonds and rubies. But what is the use? That bird is not happy. Similarly, Krishna must be happy with our service. That is the whole idea. And that we can only learn from the pure acharyas. So this is the statement made by the great devotee Yamunacharya. By serving you constantly, one is freed from all material desires and completely pacified. When shall I engage in your seva, in your permanent eternal service, O Krishna? And when will that day come when I will become joyful to have such a perfect master? So here we are talking about Dasya Rasa. In Dasya Rasa also there is a perfect master and there is a perfect servant. And that perfect servant is always trying to eternally satisfy the master. So here, so I will take one more shloka and then we will end here. So Prabhu kahe eho hoy kichu age ara rai kahe sakya prema sarva shadya sara. So Prabhu kahe, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, eho hoy, you are right, that is fine. Age kaho kichu age kaho ar. Tell me something more. So now the greed of Mahaprabhu is increasing. Rai kahe sakya prema sarva sadhya sar. Sakya prem, friendship, when prema, in friendship of the Lord, is sarva sadhya sar, is the highest perfectional stage. So hearing this, the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, yes, this is great, but tell me more. So hearing about Dasya Ras, the Srila Prabhupada mentions that as long as loving service is rendered to the Lord, in the master-servant relationship, there is some fear. Very important point. No matter how much intimate a servant is, but there is some fear between master and servant. The servant cannot cross a certain line. For the servant is always afraid of the master, despite the intimacy of self-interest. In this stage, the servant is always afraid of the master and respectful to him. Always very, very respectful. Haji sir, Haji Prabhuji, Haji, yes sir, always. So that time that fear and great respect is shown. And in this stage, the servant is always afraid of the master and respectful to him. But when the devotee is further advanced, he has nothing to fear. He considers the Lord and himself are equal. So Madhumangal can say, "Hey Krishna," and he will hit him, "Jhutha, you lied to us," like that. But Hanumanji Maharaj cannot say that to Lord Ramachandra. "Hey Jhutha." See the point? So here there is equality in the Sakhya Rasa, which is not possible in the Dasya Rasa. At such a time, the devotee is fully convinced that Lord Krishna is a friend, and it cannot at all be dissatisfied if the devotee lives with him on an equal level. So Hanumanji Maharaj cannot sit in, who is the pinnacle of Dasya Rasa, cannot sit on the same throne as Lord Ramachandra, because he is not equal. He is always sitting at the lotus feet of Lord Ramachandra. But Krishna and his friends are sitting together on the same seat. Sometimes when even the picnic also, they're all on the same. It is not that Krishna is sitting on a higher seat. That is called Vishramba Prem. At such a time, they are on an equal level. This understanding is called Vishramba. And that is devoid of respectful attitude. There is no, between friends, there is joking. Sometimes they slap each other. They have fun. Sometimes they even give each other some abusive gali language. They do that, etc. So when this becomes equality is called Sambrahma, and when there is no equality, then it is called Vishramba. So it becomes Sakhya Rasa Prem. On this stage, there is developed consciousness. It's even higher than Dasya Rasa of equality between the Lord and the devotee. So thank you all very much. Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Rayaramananda ji ki jai, Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.